You with a briefing on the upcoming summer sitting of the Ontario Legislature. We've decided to recall the House, and it is clear that there are areas of public interest that require urgent attention from our new government. The people of Ontario can't afford to wait, and they won't have to wait. We're prepared to act, and we're prepared to act now. I want to give you a look at three of our top legislative priorities for the summer session. First, we'll be using legislative tools to ensure that students at York University are protected in the face of the ongoing labour dispute. Our students are not bargaining chips. Their futures should not be held for ransom. We intend to use legislative tools to ensure that the interests of the students and their families come first, and the students can get back to class for this fall. Second, we will strike the Liberal cap-and-trade tax law from the books and repeal any legislation that would enable a future government to impose a cap-and-trade carbon tax in the future. And third, we will introduce legislation to cancel the White Pines industrial wind turbine project, which received its notice to proceed during the election period before the government had a chance to make any decisions on the project for the benefit of the people of Prince Edward County. You can also expect us to act to ensure that going forward, local communities are better protected from having these kinds of projects imposed on them against their will. These three priorities send a clear and serious message about what you can expect from a Doug Ford PC government. We're going to keep our promises. We're prepared to act, and we will always put the best interests of the people first. Thanks for coming, and I'll take any of your questions.
We'll take questions over here at this mic, one at a time.
Todd, you did a news conference a couple of months ago, either during the campaign or just before the campaign, that Job One was going to be firing the $6 million man at Hydro One. There's a bunch of stuff that's happened already,
yes,
and not that. So what's up with that?
We're serious about that issue. We're serious and committed to that issue, and stay tuned. We will have more information on the Hydro One situation in the coming days.
But your leader promised that he would make that his job one. The first thing he would do was fire the Hydro One CEO. So why hasn't that happened?
Let me say this. We are working on that issue right now. We are 5+ days, 5+ business days into the work of the new cabinet, and we are taking that issue very seriously. And while it might not be the first on the list of things that we've accomplished, we did get down to work right away, and we've accomplished a number of things. Dealing with the Hydro One situation is very much a priority going forward, and stay tuned for details.
And on cap and trade, will the legislation include reimbursements for companies that have paid into the pot?
Yeah, so that's an issue that we're dealing with at the cabinet table right now. There are a number of different ministries that are affected by scrapping the cap and trade. So each of the individual ministers responsible are discussing those details going forward, and we'll have more on what that means for those who are affected at a later date.
How much will killing cap and trade cost?
That's what we're determining at the cabinet table right now.
Todd, the Premier hasn't spoken to the media since being sworn in, and there's been a number of changes that have been made sort of, quietly with no announcement. Is that an indicator of how this government plans to communicate with the people of Ontario?
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm here today. I'm taking questions. You can clearly see that Doug Ford, in the early days of his premiership, has gotten down to business. We've been checking off all kinds of different priorities that we had promised to do during the election campaign. By no means have we been sitting idly and twiddling our thumbs. We've been getting right down to business from the announcement that Christine Elliott, our Minister of Health and Long-Term Care, made on the OHIP Plus program, and making that run more efficiently and to the benefit of all of the people of Ontario. And you can just check off all these different items down the list. What we're talking about today are these three priority areas that we have to deal with because of the time sensitivity involved in these key issues.
Todd, it may not have been the $6 million man, but you guys did promise to move quickly on alcohol sales as well, and that's not on your list. So what's up with booze?
Yeah, sure. So people are wondering, right? It's hot out there. It's a key priority for us moving forward. Again, I'm mentioning that these are three key time-sensitive issues that we're dealing with when the legislature comes back on Wednesday, and legislation will be introduced following the election of the Speaker and obviously the throne speech on Thursday. So we are going to address these key issues when the legislature comes back, but more is potentially possible, so stay tuned. We are going to live up to all of the promises that we made during the campaign.
How long do you expect the House to sit? How long is the House going to sit, and will you use time allocation to push through bills that will be opposed by the opposition?
We'll have more to say about how long the House is going to sit. Obviously, we're looking to the other parties, and we will be speaking with the other recognized party in the legislature on the House schedule coming back, and we'll do that later this week.
Todd.
The next question over here. Go ahead.
Todd, the sex ed curriculum isn't on that list you've just mentioned there. Obviously, the school year is going to start in September. You know, when does work on repealing and replacing that get underway, and what are educators being told about the sex ed curriculum for this coming school year?
Yeah, it was another promise, certainly, that was made during the election campaign. And while we're ticking off a lot of these key priorities now, we're dealing with the time-sensitive ones right now. For any more information on what we're going to be doing with the curriculum, not just the health and wellness curriculum, but all of the curriculum, I would advise you to speak with the Minister of Education, and there will be a timeline laid out for how we're going to deal with all of those issues.
Next question.
But wouldn't you argue that this is time-sensitive? School's starting in just 2 months. Parents have been waiting for this. Many that have elected this government. So no progress whatsoever on the sex ed?
Well, again, we've been in office for 5 days. We're all being briefed on all of the various issues and how we can deal with our election promises that we made. These are time-sensitive issues because of key timing that's involved in making sure that we strike the cap and trade. With the WPD project in Prince Edward County, very time-sensitive issue. We want to deal with that immediately. And, of course, the York University strike, we want to ensure that that gets dealt with as quickly as possible so that, if the legislation passes, we can ensure that those kids are back at York University this fall.
Next question.
Hi, Todd. Do you intend to debate the throne speech and have a confidence vote on it in the next week?
Yeah, we'll have more to say about how debate is going to roll out after we speak with the House Leader from the official opposition and lay out the calendar of events going forward. We expect that the legislature will be sitting for at least a couple of weeks, and we'll have more to say about the actual House schedule in a couple days. Okay,
last question.
Travis Standers, Global News. I know this is not your portfolio, but we reached out to the Education Minister and can't get comment from her. The cutting of $100 million earmarked for school repairs, can you comment on it? Because a lot of parents are very concerned that schools are crumbling in Ontario.
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the key commitments that Doug Ford and the PC party made during the election campaign was to scrap the cap and trade program. We've lived up to that promise, and that's why we're bringing in this legislation. There are a number of different programs that were affected by that. Of course, there was the $14,000 rebate program for millionaires who were going to get that rebate to buy a Tesla or an electric vehicle. Those are the types of programs that were killed as a result of the cap and trade program. There are other programs as well that were affected. I can tell you that at the cabinet table, we're discussing all of those programs and ensuring that those that are needed, we will find a way to pay for those programs going forward. It just won't be through the Liberal cap and trade slush fund any longer.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.